And we're there, mate. We are now apparently live on YouTube, which is super exciting. So let me just introduce what's going to happen, because I know it's kind of ironic that this is called the art of focus, and we're distracting you from your lunch hour just for half
Yeah.
an hour. So I'm Andy. I'm a doctor of happiness and well-being. I think most of you will have heard of that because I'm on about it all the time. But I'm a bit out of my depth today. So we're going to shift focus and we're going to look at attention spans and focus today. And the reason that I've asked Ollie to come on board, well, Ollie, who are you and why have I asked you to come on board to help me out today?
Well, there's a few reasons you've asked me here. I think most importantly, in case anyone hasn't realised, I don't know if they can see our names in the teams, but we are related. I am your son, allegedly.
Your mother says, mate.
I'm
Who
constantly
knows?
told. Unfortunately, I'm constantly told I look like you. So I think we are related. I think that's true. But then I guess I think there's two reasons I'm here. There's two reasons that I'm here. Reason number one, I'm an internet baby. Before I joined Art of Brill, you all know how the internet works. You know how to use it. You're all quite tech savvy, I think, but you all remember the internet peering. I do not remember not having the internet. I know Mum's dug it out of the photo album before. There's quite an iconic photo of me asleep on the family computer back when I was probably 3, 4 years old, back when I was cute. And so I don't remember not having the internet. I know what it's like to grow up and to have this limitless world of information, technology, being able to Google whatever you want. I know what it's like to always have that. So I quite understand, for one, young people today. I know what it's like and how this thing can sort of affect you and stuff like that. But then the second reason is I'm not a doctor yet, like you. So you're the doctor of happiness. I am hopefully in a couple of years' time going to be guest doctor social media. I'm doing a PhD in. I can't give you all the details because it's in progress, but I'm doing a PhD in basically looking at how social media affects people's attention. A lot of people talk about social media. A lot of people, you'll hear it all the time. It destroys your attention span. It's really bad for you, blah, blah, blah. And actually, for saying there's so much cultural discourse, there's not that much research. So that's my passion project.
Okay, PhD in the making. That's really good. But I want to broaden it out today. There will be some top tips on how to regain your focus and some stuff to take away from today. But I think I would like to broaden it out because I think it's bigger than social media. I think that the world has speeded up, and you got some stats on that, haven't you, or some info on that?
The world is speeding up. Yeah, I think that's really, really true. Some people have, there's a theory that change is speeding up and that change will keep accelerating and everything is accelerating. But yes, it does seem that life has got faster. We walk faster than we used to. Everyone tends to walk a bit quicker, which is great for losing weight, but not great if you just want to have a leisurely stroll. We switch between tasks a lot faster. It's now considered a pretty good effort if someone working in an office does one task for 3 minutes. That's like, oh, I'm being really productive today. I just did this spreadsheet for 3 minutes because it's super common for people about every minute to change task, whether that's putting music on or whether it's doing something different, answering an email. We switch between tasks way more than we used to. And then I think if you look at, well, movies are getting faster. The number of shots in a movie and the length of each shot is decreasing. The number of shots is increasing. I looked at the Spider-Man that was made almost 20 years ago by Sam Raimi in 2003, I think, and then the Spider-Man that was made in 2021, No Way Home. I don't know. I didn't like it. Anyway, and I counted the number of shots in the first minute of each of those films. So 20 years ago, Spider-Man, there were 7 different camera angles in the opening minute of the movie. Spider-Man No Way Home, or whichever one it was, in the opening minute, there were 23 camera shots. So it's way faster. Everything's faster. Everything's punchier. And then you look at things like social media. We've got, short form content. TikTok is the ultimate example. It's super fast videos, an algorithm that learns what you like. If you don't like something that comes up, just swipe on to the next one. And then Other apps have tried to get in on a trend, YouTube, Instagram, even Netflix. Netflix trialed Netflix Fast Laughs, which it's not a thing anymore, but it was basically on your phone or on your TV. You could just look through 20-second clips from different sitcoms just to see the gags. So you'd have like a gag from Friends and then a gag from The Big Bang Theory. So it's all this, everything is speeding up. We just want to see the funny bit and we can't be bothered with the rest of it.
Oh, mate, right. Okay. So now, is this important? I'm going to come back to how important this is in a second because your eyeballs are for sale, basically. But you extrapolate it out to wider society. We've got fast food. You can have your meal delivered by a guy on a motorbike. You know, you don't have to actually leave your house anymore. You get next day delivery. You get same day delivery, in fact, on Amazon. You can swipe right for your relationships. So I've heard that you can buy pre-peeled oranges and pre-peeled hard-boiled eggs. So now, none of this, is bad necessarily, but I think it just conflates into an environment that is, your brain is running red hot all the time. I'll come back to that. Zoochosis. Let me introduce zoochosis because it's something I've been having a look at, and I think zoochosis is really interesting. Zoochosis pertains to zoos. So if you go to a zoo, what you'll find is a lot of the animals are a little bit they're either pacing up and down, or they're chewing the bars, or they're scratching themselves and creating bald patches because there's something not right with them. So what the zookeepers will do is they'll medicate those animals to make them better. But of course, it's not a medical problem. The problem with the bear, the reason the bear is pacing up and down and losing its fur, the reason is it's in captivity. If you release it into the wild, it'll be okay. So, and I can't help thinking, in terms of all the examples you've just given about the fast-paced environment that we're living in, have we accidentally, or maybe even deliberately, created an environment of human zoochosis? Have we caged ourselves? Have we created an external environment that is actually unhealthy for human beings? And social media is part of this, right? But it's a much bigger issue. And are we, in fact, I mean, here's a really big thought there for human zoochosis, we've accidentally caged ourselves, are we therefore medicating humans for a non-medical problem? Have we just become really bad at looking after ourselves? So there's a huge kind of philosophical argument underneath this, but I want to try and keep it a bit light. But I think that, like I heard somebody say the other week, like if there's something missing in your life, then it's probably you. And it's us at our best. We're so distracted and so. To go back to your brain running on hot, tell me about you, because even your downtime now is not downtime, is it? Explain that concept.
Yes, now this is something I absolutely love talking about. Now I'm going to share my screen. Now, anyone with a teenager or a child present, they're going to be very familiar with what I put on my screen now. But adults, if you haven't seen this kind of thing before, don't be horrified. But would like you to feast your eyes on this nightmare fuel. I hope you can see that. You can see all my various little GIFs.
They're a bit jumpy, but I can see them. Yeah,
they're a bit jumpy, but you can see them. Well, that's fine. I'll stop sharing anyway. But the idea is, even our downtime is not downtime. What I showed there was a collection of GIFs or things that you would see on an app such as TikTok. And basically what it is that was things like some mobile games and some sand being squished, stuff like that. And it seems a bit weird. And you think, why would this kind of thing be on TikTok? When I show that slide, and it's less jumpy in real life, of just these random different clips, I could be delivering this to a group of teenagers, and a lot of them are sitting there kind of, maybe they're talking to their mates a little bit, maybe they can't really be bothered, you know, that kind of thing. When I put that slide up, I'm putting it up to make a point. It's the only time I get an entire room of teenagers do this. They're absolutely fixated on it. They can't look away. And that's because what would happen on TikTok? As you said, your eyes are valuable. Your attention is a very, very valuable resource to advertising companies on social media. They want as many seconds of your attention as they can get. And also, the people who make TikToks, the people who make YouTube, the people who make anything, your attention is a resource that you might not have been aware that you are giving up for free, by the way. But everyone's fighting for your attention. And what initially was the case was people would be showing things on TikTok, and maybe it was something copyrighted. So to get around the copyright, they would have half of the screen be something else, something like a clip from a video game or something satisfying. And that was initially to get around copyright. But what they found was that if they did that, people were more likely to watch the video to the end. People are more likely to finish a video if they've got something else to stare at that's not what the video is actually about. And I think that's really, really interesting, because that to me shows that we're so used to being overstimulated that we're actually more likely to finish something if there's multiple forms of stimulation. If you think about how many people now in their downtime, in their time when they're meant to be relaxing, are multi-screen stimulated. They're watching something, but they're also using their phone quite a lot. They've got multiple screens going on. Maybe they're watching something on their laptop while they play video games. If they're someone who's into video games, we have so many different avenues of stimulation that people will say things like, "Oh well, I just use social media when I want to turn my brain off." That's literally how I've heard it described. But the thing is, yes, this might be your time to relax. This might be your time to chill. But if during that time you're watching something and you're scrolling, your brain isn't turned off. Your brain isn't relaxed. Your brain is actually mega switched on, especially with things like social media when there's all this stuff to scroll on. Your brain is the opposite of relaxed. Your brain is going at a million miles an hour. So it's almost, without us realizing, our downtime has become uptime.
Okay, so we're with Zoocosis, mate. We're busy doing the wrong things. We've created that environment now. Now, in terms of some top tips on how to calm your brain down, really. I mean, I don't want to get into too much controversial stuff because I know it is highly controversial on whether what all you just said. Yeah, teenagers now, I saw on the BBC website, teenagers are now 5.5 hours a day, right, looking at their smartphones. Surely there's got to be some correlation between that, and we're wondering why we haven't got an attention span anymore. We're wondering why kids can't concentrate or adults can't concentrate. I personally, even though I'm not addicted to the sort of the short form videos you're talking about, I know that my own attention span isn't what it used to be. I write books, mate, as you know, and back in the day, I could lock myself in a room and write out 2,000 words, and I can't do that anymore because I've got so many things. Even if I lock myself away, I still feel the temptation to come back and get involved in something a bit faster. So I'm like struggling to switch our brains off now. And we're wondering why burnout, exhaustion, anxiety, they're all on the rise, aren't they?
I think burnout is an interesting one, definitely, and anxiety and exhaustion, because yes, life has always been stressful. Let's not pretend that people who had, people who were authors or people who had important office jobs in the 80s and 90s, they still would have possibly found it difficult to concentrate because of the different responsibilities. When you have lots of things going on in your life, that is stressful. But now we've added this sort of avenue, stuff coming from everywhere, into our free time, as I said. And I think sometimes when people are feeling super burnt out, when people are feeling super exhausted, they're always looking at their working life and what they might need to change. And sometimes that might be the solution. Sometimes maybe they are overworking themselves. Maybe they are taking on too much. But sometimes I think people do need to, maybe it is controversial, but sometimes maybe people should look, what am I doing in my downtime? What am I doing to actually relax? Am I relaxing, or am I just pounding my brain over and over again with more stimulation, so then I don't have the time to recover for my next day? Because sleep, we all know sleep is important for our brains, but what a lot of people don't know is that taking time to chill whilst awake is also very important. And that's kind of what is not happening when we're diving into this really stimulating stuff.
Okay, all right. So we've laid it on. We've laid it on the not thick, I think, because it is truth. It is, and I'm guilty of sometimes doom scrolling like everybody else is, trying not to. I mean, there's loads of stuff we could give around statistics on phone usage and all that, but let's park all that because I want to get into some solutions, mate.
Yes.
Really. I think give me your take on how can we, because before we give the solutions, I don't think that we're really saying the world is bad. I don't think we're really necessarily saying, bin your smartphone, go throw it in a lake, go and live in a forest and go off grid. We're not saying that at all. Social media can be very good, can't it? Explain why it might be like my mum, your grandma, for example. She loves getting pictures of her grandkids on her phone. It lights her up. But I think what we're talking about is if you're using your smartphone and you're in the modern world and you're okay, then that's fine. You're doing it right. But what we're pointing to is we are now, it is, if we're using social media to the detriment of your mental health, then something needs to change. I think that's the message.
Yeah, I think that is the message. I think a good way to think about it is the same thing they say about gambling, right? It's when the fun stops, stop. The problem is a lot of people tend not to realize when the fun has stopped, and then you come off something feeling worse than when you went on, and you don't really realize why. But yeah, my grandma's an interesting one. She's one of the most phone addicted people I know, which is quite interesting. Because she's, how old is she now? 75.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it, but she's quite technologically literate, and we made the mistake of getting her a smartphone. And I say made the mistake, as you said, it's not to say that technology is inherently evil, that it's inherently really, really bad. In some ways, my grandma's quality of life has significantly increased. She's a great grandma now. One of her nieces has had 2 children, but they live in different areas of the country. And my grandma, your mum, gets constant updates on constant pictures, constant videos of the 2 little girls, and that makes her so happy. It really, really does. And that's not something that she would have had the opportunity for 20 years ago. But we know, you and I both know, that when we're sat talking with her, having a coffee, whatever, the phone will be on the table. If that phone lights up, she can be talking directly at you, and she will, like that. You know, her attention's right there. And she also, I know once you had to tell her off for taking too many photos.
Did, mate. Went to right. We will come with some solutions in a minute. Went to a David Bowie concert, right? Obviously fake David Bowie, because the real David Bowie isn't around anymore. And I took my mum and dad, and it was great. It was an outdoor concert. She videoed if I'd have let her, she videoed the entire concert to send to my auntie Sylvia in Cornwall. I'm going, Mum, like do a minute, and then, but she was gonna. You've got the real fake David Bowie in front of you. Enjoy him. You don't have to watch him through your screen. Anyway, so I actually had to confiscate the phone off my own mother, off your
You're probably
grandma.
the only person who's ever had to do that, probably. But I think that's really interesting, the photos thing, because photos are, you know, we all now carry around with us like a camera good enough that you don't need a camera. You only get a camera if you're really into photography, right? We all walk around with an amazing camera and the ability to take snapshots and record whatever we want, and it allows us to take pictures of things and then to look back at them, which is nice. And we can also send these photos to people and we can share them. But I think sometimes people are I think this is where our first tip comes in. People can be so over eager to record a moment so that maybe they can look back at it later, or they can share it with somebody, that they're forgetting to actually live the moment itself. Because think Ichigo Ichi, right? It's the Japanese concept: one life, one moment. Every moment is unique. It's always now o'clock. But every moment, even if it's something you've done a million times, or if it's the first time, every moment is completely unique and can't be re-experienced. And I wonder if sometimes we've all seen the famous clips of, I don't know, Billie Eilish. Beyonce once famously had to tell a woman to put her phone away because they were watching the entire concert like that. Yes, you can look back at these videos and you can re-watch them, but you can't relive the moment. And I think sometimes this preoccupation with recording stuff gets in the way of really living the moment in itself.
Okay, brilliant. Can I just rewind to Ichigo Ichi that you just threw in there? I think the vast majority of people won't know what that is. So can I just go with it for a second?
Yeah.
You jump in if you want. So Ichigo Ichi is something that's actually, I think, is super powerful. It dates back to the Japanese tea ceremonies of the 16th, 17th century. So back in the day, what every village would do in Japan was that they would, at a certain time, all the villagers would grow out the rice paddies and they'd meet in the town, in the village hall, and they'd all have a cup of tea together in a tea ceremony. And Ichigo Ichi literally translates as one time only. So the thinking was, while we're all together in this tea ceremony, Ichigo Ichigo, it's like a one-time only thing, so we're going to be fully present. So yeah, we'll have a tea ceremony with the same people in the same room at the same time next week, but next week is a different vibe, different atmosphere. So this tea ceremony right now is Ichigo Ichigo. And you might think, well, what the heck's that got to do with the modern world? And I think pretty much everything, because typically in the workplace, I've got to attend another meeting. And Ichigo Ichigo says, well, no, you've not. The meeting you are at, even if you've got 10 meetings in the day, the meeting you are in right now is actually one time only. And therefore, if you can find a way of being fully present, then what you will find is you will find a connection with your work colleagues. You'll find a connection with the moment. You'll find an inner peace, actually, in a weird kind of way. But more than anything, you'll find a connection with the moment. That, and I'm not saying it's easy because we're so distracted. Most meetings that you go to, people are on the laptops, they've got the phone on, and we're not being fully present. And I think this lost art of being fully present. So Ichigo Ichi, it's like when your kid comes home from school, Mom, let me show you this picture I've done at school. Well, hang on, I haven't got time right now. I'll have a look at it later. Ichigo Ichi is bring it on. Let's have a look. Right. And what you will find there is this, when we're talking about the biggest thing out of my PhD, right, the mental health and happiness and well-being, the biggest thing about your mental health and happiness is real life connections with other people. So relationships, the 3 R's, I call them the 3 R's: relationships, relationships, relationships. And what Ichigo Ichi, this one time only, this every moment is special, is being able to connect with that in a modern world that is hell-bent on taking you to a better moment. And of course, there is no other moment. There's only the one you're currently in. It's forever now o'clock.
I think also very quickly how that relates to focus. I think I love Ichigo Ichi. I think it's beautiful, but how it relates to focus is I think it can be those moments where, I've done this so many times, that meeting you have every week, maybe you're working from home, you have a meeting, it can be those moments where or just anything where it's a repeat thing. Those can be the moments where the temptation to distract ourselves comes in, because I've done it X amount of times before. But if you can start thinking about it as a unique moment, as something different, as something new, then it can help, I think, maybe find the motivation to remove the temptations.
Yeah, right, brilliant. Look, with time is done. So can I just finish with I'll go with the Seb story. I know it's in the Art of Being Brill book, but the Seb story I think kind of fits in with what you just said, and it fits in with Ichigo Ichi. So there's it's a kind of true story, but I'll embellish it ever so slightly. So you have to imagine there's a toll bridge somewhere, let's say in America, and it's a big toll bridge. There's 10 lanes of traffic. And so it costs $5 to get across the bridge. So we know what it's like. Each lane of traffic has got a cubicle with a person sat there. And what you do is you pull up the cubicle, the person takes your money, they press a button, the barrier opens, car goes through. So you've got these 10 people working an 8-hour shift on the bridge. And in lanes 1 to 9, you've got the same people going through the same motions, really, taking the money, pressing the button, taking the money, pressing the button. It's a very boring, monotonous job. Maybe they're wishing they're really looking forward to getting home. They're really looking forward to 5 o'clock when they can log off. But in lane 10, you've got a guy called Seb. And Seb's a bit different to everybody else. So Seb doesn't sit down. He's standing up. He brings his Bluetooth speaker in. He whacks it up full volume. And every single day on his shift, Seb has a party. So he's on his own, but he's like dancing and singing and smiling at his customers. And he gets to know people. So he's like, "Hi, Marianne. Your hair looks different today. You look fantastic." He says, "Enjoy your trip across the bridge and say hi to the kids when you get in tonight." If he gets a new customer in lane 10, Seb can hardly control his excitement. He's like, "Welcome to lane 10. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You've chosen lane 10. He says, "With the same price as lanes 1 to 9, but because we're on the end, we've got a better view. So I would say, sir, drive slowly across lane 10, get your $5 worth. We've got a river underneath. We've got the trees turning different colours this time of year. Enjoy your trip. And if you're in the neighbourhood again, sir, I'll be delighted to serve you in lane 10 next time. Have a wonderful day." But here's the rub, mate. Here's the rub of the power of the art of focus, or being present. I'm reliably informed that after the rush hour's finished and there's hardly any traffic on that bridge, and there's 9 people like bored stiff on their phones waiting for their next customer to come, Seb gets his regulars. So Seb in lane 10 gets people who could easily go straight through lanes 1 to 9. There is no queue, but they would rather queue for 5 minutes to interact with Seb. And I know that's not directly related to focus necessarily, but I think it's that Ichigo Ichi piece. It's that Seb is being present. He's stepping into his best self. He's got strong relationships. That's not just good for Seb, right? It's good for Seb's customers, and it's really good for Seb when he gets home of an evening, because how was his day? It was brilliant. All right. So these little things add up to this big thing that we talk about at Art of Being Brill, which is basically how to be your best self in a world that it seems fairly determined to knock your best self out of you at the moment, or make you forget. So I think hopefully that's a decent enough story to wrap it up. Anything else from you?
I would like to give them a little bit of homework, just very, very quickly. I'm going to give some homework to everybody because, as you said, it's a world that wants to knock you down, but it's also a world that wants to distract you. And I want to pull all the way back to what I said about the overstimulation, right? Downtime. Maybe when I said that, some of you thought, oh, I do watch my phone a bit when I'm watching a movie or watching a series, and then I don't know what's going on. Oh, I do multi-screen stimulate maybe a bit too much in my downtime. Maybe you're realizing that you would like to do something different with your downtime. And I'm going to recommend a Dutch concept called Nixon as a bit of homework, right? Nixon literally means to do nothing, right? And it's really, really difficult. It's not like meditation where you intentionally sit and you breathe a certain way. Nixon is doing nothing. Mickey Flanagan had a very different way of putting it that I'm not going to repeat, but it's things like, next time you make a cup of tea, watch the kettle boil. When you go in a lift, because your phone doesn't even work in a lift, just stand there. Just stand in the lift. Run a bath. Just watch it happen. Look out the window, but at nothing in particular, right? You'll try it. I guarantee you can't do 10 minutes. A minute is probably pretty difficult. You'll want to think about work. You'll want to think about something that's stressing you. And it makes you realize how not used we are, how we've just got used to always doing something, always being busy. So just try a minute or two of Nixon. Really try to do nothing. If it stresses you out, that's okay, because that's kind of a sign that maybe you're doing a bit too much. So that's just a bit of homework from me.
Brilliant, mate. And I don't want people thinking that is, I mean, the deliberate art of setting out to do nothing is next, which is brilliant. But it's not laziness, it's not sloth, it's actually restorative. So actually, if you can quieten your brain and sit and stare out the window for 2 minutes of doing nothing, it's you difficult. Will feel better. It's like plugging yourself back into the mains. But it's ironic that everybody will, oh, that sounds easy. I'll go and sit in my chair and look out the window and do nothing for 10 minutes. That's easy. No, it's not. You'll all fail because we're so addicted to busyness and we're so distracted that our brains are struggling to calm down. So I'm hoping that we've informed a little bit. I mean, if you obviously want more info, then you know where we are. We've got a great website. We've got great books. We've got, can I just plug the open program? So I'm running a program called The Art of Being Brilliant, which of this content will be included in that going forward on attention spans. I'm running that in Warwickshire on November the 5th. So if anybody wants a ticket for that, that'll be on the website as well. But I would like to extend a thanks to you, mate, for logging on from Liverpool. And anybody who's watched this live, thank you very much indeed. Streamed through YouTube. And anybody who watches it in the next 10 years while it's sat there on YouTube, thanks for watching something that is a lot more than 3 seconds. It's been 35 minutes. So well done. Go you.